It was one of those freezing winter nights when the wind could cut straight through your bones. In a small, worn-down trailer on the edge of town, a single father named Mark was tucking his little boy into bed when he heard a soft knock at the door. When he opened it, he saw a young girl standing there, drenched in rain, shivering and clearly terrified. She said she was lost. Mark didn't have much to offer, barely enough food, barely enough warmth, but he had a heart too big to turn anyone away. He let her in, not realizing that this simple act of kindness would soon change his and his son's lives forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to your channel name, where we share real and inspiring stories that remind us just how powerful kindness can be. If this story touches your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your own story of kindness in the comments below. Now let's dive into this unforgettable story. Mark was 34 years old, a mechanic who had fallen on tough times. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old son, Tommy, alone. Life had not been gentle with him. Bills were piling up, his old truck barely worked, and the trailer park manager kept warning him about overdue rent. Even so, Mark stayed strong for Tommy. Every night, he read stories about brave people who never gave up, trying to teach his son the same strength, even though Tommy didn't realize his own dad was one of those heroes, just without the cape. That night, the rain was pouring so hard it sounded like drums on the window. The power had gone out, and the only light in the room came from a single flashlight. Mark was just about to lie down when he heard that faint knock again, soft at first, then louder. He hesitated. It was almost midnight, and no one usually came by at that hour. But something in the sound made him open the door. Standing there was a teenage girl, maybe 16 or 17, soaked from head to toe, her hair dripping, her hands shaking. "Please," she whispered. "I'm lost. My car broke down a few miles back. My phone's dead. Can I stay here until morning?" Mark paused for a moment. His home wasn't much. A leaking roof, a couch with broken springs, and a pot of leftover soup on the stove. But when he looked into her frightened eyes, he couldn't say no. "Of course," he said gently. "Come in before you freeze out there." As she stepped inside, her wet shoes squished on the floor. The noise woke Tommy, who peeked sleepily from his bedroom. "Daddy, who's that?" he asked. "This young lady's lost," Mark replied kindly. "She'll stay with us tonight." "Go back to bed, champ." Tommy smiled shyly at her and went back to his room. Mark handed the girl a towel and some of his late wife's clothes, the only clean ones that might fit. She thanked him softly, still trembling, and sat down while he warmed some soup. "I didn't think anyone would open the door," she said quietly. Mark smiled. Everyone deserves a warm place on a cold night. As they sat by the small propane heater, she told him her name. Lily. She'd been driving home from a friend's house when her car broke down. Her phone died, and the storm was too strong for her to find help. Mark didn't press her with questions. He could tell she was scared and embarrassed, so instead he talked about Tommy, how the boy loved building toy cars from scrap metal. For the first time that night, Lily smiled. "He sounds like a smart kid," she said. "He is," Mark answered proudly. "Smarter than me, that's for sure." When morning came, the storm had finally passed. Tommy was laughing in the kitchen while Lily helped him draw with crayons. Mark watched them quietly. His son's laughter and the young girl's kindness filled the room with warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. When Lily got ready to leave, Mark offered to drive her to her car. They found it a few miles away, just as she'd said. He helped her get it started again. Before leaving, she looked at him and said, "Thank you for trusting me." Not everyone would have done that, Mark smiled. "The world's already tough enough. We all need a little kindness sometimes." She paused as if she wanted to say more, but simply nodded. "I'll never forget this." A few days passed and life went back to normal. Mark worked long hours at the auto shop, doing whatever he could to keep food on the table. Then one afternoon, a black limousine pulled up outside his trailer. Mark frowned. "This has to be a mistake," he muttered. "Nobody that rich ever came down that dirt road." A man in a suit stepped out. "Are you Mr. Mark Johnson?" he asked politely. Yeah," Mark replied. "Someone would like to see you," the man said, opening the car door. Out stepped Lily, but this time she looked completely different. Her hair was neatly tied back and she wore a stylish coat. Beside her stood an older man with silver hair and a calm, confident presence. "Lily?" Mark said in disbelief. She smiled. "Hi, Mark, this is my dad." The man reached out his hand. "Richard Bennett," he said. "My daughter told me everything. I believe we owe you our gratitude." Mark blinked in shock. "Wait, Bennett? As in Bennett Industries?" Richard nodded. That's right, Mark couldn't believe it. He had given shelter to the daughter of one of the richest men in the state. "I didn't know," he stammered. Richard smiled. "That's what makes what you did so special. You helped her out of kindness, not because of who she was." Lily's eyes filled with emotion. "You didn't have to let me in that night. You barely had enough for yourself, but you still shared what you had. I told my dad everything." "We want to help you, Mark." Mark shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." "I just did what anyone should do," Richard replied gently. "Sadly, not everyone would, but we insist." Within a few weeks, Mark's world changed completely. A brand new truck appeared in his driveway with his name on the title. The auto shop where he worked received new tools and repairs, all paid for by Bennett Industries. And soon after, Mark got a call offering him the position of manager at a new repair center the company was opening nearby. Mark could hardly believe how life had turned around. Lily and her father didn't just help. Financially, they became close friends. Lily often visited, spending time with Tommy, bringing books, art supplies, and laughter back into their lives. Mark never asked for any of it, but he was deeply grateful. More than anything, he was proud that Tommy had witnessed what kindness could do. Months later, as spring came and the air grew warm, Mark stood outside his new home. Not a trailer this time, but a small, cozy house with a garden. Tommy was chasing fireflies in the yard while Lily sat on the porch laughing with him. That evening, Richard stopped by again. He handed Mark a check, a donation to help other struggling single parents in the community. Mark looked at it, overwhelmed. "You really don't have to do this," he said. Richard smiled. "You gave my daughter a safe place when she needed it most. Now it's our turn to make sure others find the same kindness you showed." Mark nodded, his eyes misty. "I promise I'll use it well." "I know you will," Richard replied. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Mark sat on the porch under the stars. He thought about how one small decision, opening the door to a stranger, had changed everything. He realized that real kindness doesn't come from money or status. It comes from the heart, and when you give without expecting anything in return, life has a way of giving it all back to you. Tommy ran up, holding a jar full of glowing fireflies. "Daddy," he asked, "did helping that girl make us lucky?" Mark smiled and ruffled his hair. "No, buddy. It made us blessed." And that's the story of Mark, the single father whose small act of kindness opened the door to a brand new life. Kindness costs nothing, but it's the most valuable thing we can ever give. You never know whose life you might change, or how that goodness might return to you one day. If this story warmed your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in the power of kindness. This is your channel name, reminding you that even the smallest act of compassion can travel farther than you ever imagine, because kindness always finds its way.